Welcome to Misbehaving in Maine. I'm Dan Williams. This story is called Are You Crazy, Grandpa? Or Just Insane? And now, here goes everything. Grandpa is my humor teacher. Once at Dad's birthday, I said to Grandpa, "Thanks for making Dad." A twinkle lit Grandpa's eye, and he said, "It was my pleasure." Gross, Grandpa. And what a joke. Tight as hell. My Grandpa Fred grew up in Montville, Maine. In Montville, he was a wandering boy. He would ramble all over town, stopping wherever there were people. He'd just show up and talk, enjoying folks, and they'd invite him to supper to keep the talk going. I admire this, but I live in the opposite way. I prefer the places where there are no people whatsoever. Abandoned houses, rainy graveyards lit by lightning, crossroads at midnight. Yeah, sometimes you meet Satan in these places. He's not a fan of people either. I've never been able to enjoy folks like Grandpa does. He's got the proper defenses, thick skin, and self-esteem. I have neither. I've got anti-God levels of ego, but little to no self-esteem, and my skin is wet newspaper. It's just that I can feel what other brains are doing to me when I'm around them. They're Christmas treeing me. It's probably a primal survival thing, the need to size up and define another person, but who cares? It feels awful. It feels like getting cut off at the trunk, then pruned to fit someone else's comfort level, then decorated in their crap to make me something they can bear to be around for a season. I do the same thing. Of course I do. I haunt the unpeopled places, remember? I do it to keep the people safe from my saw, my shears, my decoration game. It seems I am a hero. The ego feasts, leaving zero leftovers for the self-esteem. The only thing I can figure about Grandpa is that he Christmas trees people in a way that's fun for them. Bottom line, if you're going to carve up somebody else's humanity, make it fun. Once, when Grandpa was a boy, he and a gang of Montville buddies attacked a Model T Ford. The car was out to pasture. Literally, it was in a pasture. It was there busy being a rust leper, turning back into the earth from whence it came. Also, the Ford was on a hill. The kids put two and two together. There were four of them, and they rocked that Ford until it rolled over and over down the hill. Why? What do you mean, why? Say the Montville boys of the 1940s. It was on a hill. When Grandpa got older and turned into a literal grandfather, Dutch elm disease, or DED, struck the mighty elms of Maine. Grandpa's elm stood out in the orchard, towering over its adopted apple tree family, an ugly duckling tree who skipped the swan stage and went straight to being a god. Because elms are so tall, if you want to prune one because it's dying, you need a crazy tall ladder. Grandpa's imagination realized that other things can climb to the sky besides Grandpa's. Buckshot, for example. All the grandchildren gathered around him and his shotgun while he shot the elm's dead branches off. Branches rained around us, slamming the ground. Elmageddon, friends. The falling sky sent us running. The Remington's red glare, its blasts bursting in air, brought us back laughing to Grandpa's side. It was a challenge, not dying. A game. If you're going to kill grandchildren, make it fun. Not only did Grandpa teach me humor, he taught me the best kind, dark humor. Here's an example. We were over at Grammy and Grandpa's house having supper, and Grandpa caught my eye. This was easy for him. My eye was always on Grandpa, waiting for the next wild whatever. We locked eyes. He happened to be holding a butter knife. He brought it up to his neck and mime slit his throat. Then he dropped the blade, clattertastic, and cupped his hand under the open throat, caught the waterfall of blood, and started scooping it into his mouth. He drank, cupped again, drank, cupped again, for as long as I was laughing. In other words, he drank for a long, long time. He had achieved the violent comedic version of Kenny G's circular breathing. When you find that perpetual power is yours, you don't stop. I laughed until I lost my mind a little. Oh, bliss. And I didn't want the lost part back. It was the scales over my funny eyes, the part blocking the abyss of humor that was waiting to begin the gazing contest. Hallelujah. Grandpa's sheep was in the back pasture, choking to death. Grampa ran outside, picked up the sheep, and held it in Heimlich's no-nonsense embrace. He gave the sheep 3 chiropractic jolts, and on 3, a whole apple fired out of the sheep's mouth like a bullet from a hilarious gun. "There you go," said Grampa to the uncorked sheep. He set her down. She fell over. Dead. Now don't you dare be mad at Grampa. For one thing, he didn't kill the sheep on purpose. Involuntary sheep slaughter at the very worst. For another, he did not think it was funny. Not one bit. Because it wasn't. Until it was. Too soon has a shelf life. You'll know when too soon has expired by the sound of all the laughter. At that point, it's inappropriate if you don't laugh. If we never lost our stuffing, laughing about Grampa and the dead sheep apple bazooka, it would have been disrespectful to the sheep who gave her life to be remembered forever. Think of all the sheep you've forgotten. You can't. But I'll never forget that old apple gal. Thank you, Grampa. Thank you, sheep. Because Grampa pruned the elm with a shotgun, you might think he doesn't know his way around a chainsaw. He does. He's so handy with the chainsaw, it isn't a saw in his hands. It's an extension of the self, the soul. Here's part of the Gunslinger's Litany from Stephen King's Dark Tower series. I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart. I do not saw with my saw, says Grampa. He who saws with his saw has forgotten the face of his father. I saw with my heart. Because the engine is his heart. The grunt, rumble, and howl of his heart are the voices of his song. The voices sing his rage, rage against the dying of the light. The steel teeth are his teeth, bared in a forever grin. The work of turning trees into firewood, into light and winter warmth, which is life itself in Maine. This is Grampa's work, his essence. He is and has always been light in the darkness, warmth in the killing cold. He brings the family in close for living. And by that, I do mean storytelling, laughing. These are not past times. They're what you pass the times to get to. They are the no times, the elusive present. They are eternity. Though Grampa is the saw slinger, he isn't so great at taking it easy on his body all his life. Nowadays, he can't walk through the woods without assistance. He's got 2 canes. One is cool, the other is legendary. The cool cane is a thick stick topped with a hame handle from some horse's harness. But when he's in the woods on a cutting day, he breaks out the legendary cane, a cane that is his chainsaw. I've seen him march through the wilds with a running chainsaw, steadying his work-broken body by stabbing the blade into the ground. For the chainsaw layman, you have to pull the trigger to make the blade go, so saws can run without the teeth spinning. I don't want you imagining Grandpa cutting into the world as he walked along, though I kind of do. He is, after all, fabulously unhinged. Grandpa with his chainsaw cane is the coolest thing in the woods. I say so while knowing there are Bigfoots and unicorns. Grandpa with a chainsaw cane? What could be better? Maybe Captain Ahab with a chainsaw leg. But no, it wouldn't be better, because Ahab, no matter what he strapped on, could never make anyone laugh. The crew would try to laugh, but he'd be a monomaniacal a-hole and kill the mood. Anyway, Grandpa chainsaw canes his way through the woods, cutting trees so fast he turns the woods into a game of pilgrim dodgeball. Back in the day when it was all nuts and no balls, no time or money for balls, the children ran from falling trees for fun. It was sort of like our elm game, except it was whole elms throwing themselves down. One time I went out in the woods with Grandpa and his saw. He caned around, cutting this tree, that tree, so many trees and so fast that they all got hung up on each other and refused to fall. Grandpa glanced at the hanging forest above us and said, "That's dangerous," as if he wasn't the one responsible. "Yeah," I said, realizing Grandpa and I were standing inside a huge and deadly trap. If the trees all decide to come down at once, I thought, we'll be smashed. Even if they come down one at a time, there's still an excellent chance of death. A whole forest doesn't need to fall on you to kill you. One tree can do it just fine. We started walking our way out of death when the trees started falling. All around us. They whipped their long bodies to the ground, slamming, shaking the earth, causing impact tremors, causing heart tremors, and freezing the blood. Grandpa and I might have laughed if we had time, but all we had time for was dodging the falling wooden death. Grandpa saw-walked as well as he could, well enough that it was a saw run, and he kept the saw running. When there's no time for laughing, there's no time for shutting off saws either. Then it happened. Down came the tree, the one, a natural-born Grandpa killer. Its shadow telegraphed its intention. The shadow darkened Grandpa and Grandpa alone. He didn't notice. He was too busy doing the serpentine saw run. But I noticed. The falling tree, a monstrous beech, had wound the F up and was now swinging for the cemetery fences. What happened next is hard for me to believe, because it's so wonderful. I dove, grabbed Grandpa, tackled him to the ground. The running saw fell with us, amongst us, running and capable of being accidentally triggered, capable of sawing the Grandpa and his Dan in half, turning us into 4 pieces, one big steaming bloodbath of family. I tackled Grandpa seconds before the murder tree came down. Boom! This was the last cry of the floating woods. It had done its best to kill its killer, and missed. Grandpa and I helped each other back to our feet. He turned off the saw for once. He looked at me and said the impossible, the heaven-level dream come true. "You saved my life," he said. I wasn't clever enough to say, "It was my pleasure." I think I said thank you for some reason. I should have said thank you for everything, because this would have prompted Grandpa to say, "You didn't get everything," which always makes me laugh. Why did I say thank you? Maybe because I was grateful. Grateful to Grandpa and to God. If I really had saved Grandpa's life, which still feels too good to be true, then I had finally found a way to say thank you, Grandpa. To say it meaningfully enough. Thank you for being you. Thank you forever. You made my life what it is, saved it, really. Saved it from being something else, something lesser. And I, by luck or by God, got to save your life right back. Save it so you could keep doing what you do, being crazy insane, wonderful, dangerous, and hilarious. Being the warmth and light, the story man and Captain Laughter, craftsman of my first eternity. If I really did save you, Grandpa, I didn't save you with my jump and tackle, for I have not forgotten the face of my father. I saved you the same way you saved me. I saved you with my heart. This has been Misbehaving in Maine. See you next time. And if you'd like to sling some support, check out my book, Misbehaving in Maine 30 Half-Learned Lessons. You can find it on my website, danwilliamswrites.com. That's danwilliamswrites.com. Friends and neighbors, thank you. And remember, you may be wicked, you may be weird, but you're not alone.